Alright, welcome back. I've opened up Fireworks. We're going to use Fireworks, which is an imaging program that's used for web design. It's quite a good little program and probably not as challenging as Photoshop, so it's probably worth using when you're doing your graphics for your web design. Now, if you remember, we downloaded our coffee background, and I'm going to do a little bit of work with that background to get it ready for my background image on my page. To do that, I'm first of all going to create a canvas. Now, I have a size in mind that I would like you to use, which is good for most large screens and can be used for smaller screens. So it's sort of an in-between size that's good for a lot of things. That size is 1920 pixels wide and 1080 pixels height. So you need to type those in. Your resolution, you can just use at 72. Our background doesn't really matter at the moment, but we'll put it on white for the purposes of this, but our photo is going to cover our whole background, so it won't matter. So I'm going to create that canvas. Now the canvas is a little bit too big for the screen at the moment, so I just want to drag it in a bit. And to do that, I'm just going to hold the Control key down on my keyboard and just use my mouse wheel and scroll it down a bit until I can get it in and I can see the whole canvas. Fantastic. Now I'm going to import my photograph that we downloaded earlier. So I go up to File and Import to import my photograph. And here it is here, cup of coffee. Okay, so I'll just double click that. When you do that, you'll notice you get a little corner sort of cursor. That just tells you where it's going to start the picture. So what I do is I drag from left to right. So I just want to go outside of my canvas a little bit, drag left to right, and just a little bit outside the canvas. So I've got a little bit to work with, and let go of my mouse button. Okay, let's pop that in, and that's actually pretty good. That's not bad for a first go. Sometimes you might need to mess around with that and re-import it or resize it out a little bit, but I'm fairly happy with that. The coffee cup's sitting on the left-hand side. I might just move it down a little bit, and to do that I'm just clicking on it. I'm going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard because that'll move it one pixel at a time. Sometimes when you drag with the mouse it goes a whole bunch of pixels and then back a whole bunch, and it's really hard to get where you want it to be. Now what I'm looking for with my picture is I want the coffee cup on the right, but I want this area on the left because that's where my web content is going to go. So I'm happy that it's just a pattern, if you like, of coffee beans. I also want a little bit of space above my coffee cup. I'm going to put a little bit of text there just to make the picture stand out a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to do that text now. So what I want to put in is some curved text, so some text that curves around the top of the coffee cup. To do that, first of all I have to create a line for that text to sit on, and I do that with the pen tool over on the left hand side. You'll see that there. I'll click the pen tool and I'm going to come somewhere near this left hand side of the coffee cup. I click once, I let go of my mouse button, and I'll come up here near the right and I'll click again. Then I just hold that mouse button down and I just drag out to the right, and I get a nice curved line. You can see that line curving around. It doesn't have to be perfect, this one, so I'm happy with that curve, and I just let go of that mouse. Now at the moment my line is actually white. I can see a little bit of white coming through there, and that's because the pen color is white. So I'm just going to change that pen color to transparent. So you change that down there in that stroke color to transparent, so I don't actually see that line. The line's just sitting there. When I click my pointer tool up the top on the left and click away from that, it just seems to disappear, but it's actually still sitting there. It's just transparent. Right, now I'm going to type my text. To do that I come down to my text button here and I click on my text button, and I can just go anywhere on the page for my text. So it just creates a text box. I'm going to type some text on the keyboard, and I'm going to type take a load off and stay a while. And that's just people who are coming to my site. I want them to take a load off and stay a while. Okay, good. I'm going back to my pointer tool just to select away from my text for the moment. I'm going to select my text again, and this time I'm going to hold the shift key down. I'm going to come over to where my curved line is roughly. There it is. I can just see it pops up in red, and I'm going to click on that as well. So now I have my text and my curved line selected at the same time. Now what I want to do is join those together. So I come up here to text up the top, and I come down to attach to path, and that should attach my text to my path. Let's do that. Alright, you can see that it has attached my text to my path. It's actually just a little bit too much text for the size of the path I did, so I'm going to come back up here to my subselection tool. I'm going to try and stretch my line out a little. Oh, there we go. Just so I can get all my text to fit. Good stuff. And I'm going to come back here on the left and just take my selection tool. I'm just going to move that a little bit to the right. Okay, I'm happy with that. I don't need it to be absolutely perfect. That's pretty good. So I've got take a load off, and I can hold my control key down and just scroll in a bit if I want to have a closer look at that. Because remember, we're only at 66% here, so it's still not even the size, and I can see that it'll be readable once I get to 100%, so that's all good for me. Okay, just go and scroll out again. The last thing we need to do is save our picture, and when we save our picture, we're actually exporting our picture in a type of file format that we particularly want. And because mine's a photograph, I'm going to export it as a JPEG, but I can also with Fireworks adjust the quality of the JPEG so I can get my file size down, and that's really important in web design. So it is a fairly big picture on my page, so I'm prepared to give it a little bit of size, but I want to keep it under 200K. And I think if you use that as a rule, if you're using a background photograph, try and keep it under 200K. You're going to have to reduce the quality a bit, but if you leave the quality too high, it just takes too long for it to load on the page. So that's just a guide. Let's see if we can do that. So let's come up to File, and we're going to come down to Export Wizard. So it's got a little wizard for us to do it in Fireworks, which is nice. Now, the first one just says, do you want to select an export format? We're just going to press Continue. In fact, I always press Continue. The next one asks us, do we want the graphics to be for the web? Yes, we do. Continue. And we get one more of these screens, which I don't know why that comes up. It's just a recommendation one. I'm just going to ignore it for the moment. Now, I get to the real screen, which is what I want. And first thing I need to select is sometimes up here it'll be in GIF or something other type of format, but I want mine to be in JPEG. So just make sure you select JPEG. You've got JPEG selected. Now by default, it will try and create it already at 80% of the quality because it knows it's for the web, so it's trying to reduce the quality. And at 80% for the quality, I come over here, I can see that my picture will be a 371K size picture. A 371K size is a little bit too big. Remember I said we're trying to keep it under 200. So what I'll do is come over here to this drop down and I'll reduce mine down. Let's try it at 70%. And click over here and we can see already we've got to 255K now. We can see here it's still reasonably good quality, probably good enough for the web. Starting to get a little bit blurry, but not too bad. Alright, let's try dropping it down to 65. 227, not quite enough. Let's try 60. Oh, 204. Okay, 204 is pretty close. So I don't want to drop it down too far because I start to get too blurry, but I want to try and keep it around that 200K mark, and 204 is pretty close to 200K. So we come down here to the bottom to export, and we just export that picture, and it says where do you want to save it and what do you want to call it. So I'm just going to call it BG for background hyphen coffee. And I'm going to put hyphen text because I put some text on it as well, and that'll just tell me what it is. So it's bgcopytext.jpg, and I'm going to press save. You might not be seeing that fully. It's just a little bit over on the side. I'll just drag that in a little bit. It's a little bit wider than our screen. Okay, so just bgcopytext and pressing save to save that. So that's saved that picture now as a JPEG, and that's what I need. So I'm going to use that in my background. So next we'll have a look at how we put that background into our web page. Well done.